Hi, my name's Dee and welcome to Sunchild Tarot and welcome to our now regular look at the latest lunation, this new moon in Cancer, which I was really excited about, and now I've looked into it more deeply and yeah, it could be good. I have with me astrologer, I suppose I should go the other, no, that the other side is that side. I have with me astrologer David Fischer. How are you doing, David?
Hey Dee, hey everyone, it's nice to be here. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. What do you think about this moon? It looks like it may be bringing up lots of issues for our attention. Let's put it mildly.
Okay. Yeah, so to start off, I'm going to share the screen here with the full moon, with the new moon chart. So I'm just going to mention a few of the components that we are going to cover in this video, and there are a few that I'm going to leave out because they're Dee's expertise, so I'm going to allow him to chime in with them whenever he feels like it. But you can see them already here. We are going to use Chiron. We're going to talk a bit about that. We're going to talk a bit about Juno, perhaps. And we are going to mention the fact that this new moon in Cancer, a cardinal water sign, doesn't see anything but Jupiter and Neptune. But from the classical planets, it doesn't see anything but Jupiter being an aversion, what we call aversion, to Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Saturn. And these are the planets that don't see the new moon. They are making some interesting connections amongst themselves. So we are going to mention also how that plays out in the chart.
Right, so you're saying they don't see the new moon at all. Are they working to their own agenda, just completely ignoring the new moon?
No. So I want to start saying a few things about the sign that the new moon is happening in, because that's the moon's own sign. That's Cancer. That's the lunar terrain already. So we are talking about multiplicity. We're talking about the ability that our bodies have to understand what's happening around us, to listen to our environments, to basically all your senses. That's what's described by Cancer. Whenever you have planets transiting there, you have your body always telling you through the meanings, through the significations of those planets that are transiting there, some kind of message, some kind of, thing that you need to bring to your awareness that you can benefit from and that you can include in your routine to make your body more relaxed and more capable of doing your moon's agenda, doing its own agenda, achieving whatever you want, but whatever you put yourself to. With the sun there, it means that we are trying to focus in ways to make our experience of feeling things around us better. Why? Because we feel more sensitive, we feel more in tune to that energy now, that the sun is going through that sign. It's agitating those lunar qualities. Now that the moon is joining the sun in it, we gain the capability, we are more attuned to the ability to connect, focus on the things that are really causing our bodies to react the way they are. We become more consciously aware of the things that make us tick and the things that make us also, stop in our tracks and internalize and go internally, so we can, examine whatever we are going through. So it is a reflexive point where you can gain a lot of clarity if you just stop whatever you're doing and try to listen, not do anything too forcefully, but go in a more lunar way inside and try to work with whatever you're feeling in that moment. So let's say you have a whole routine planned out. You have a whole set of things that you should be doing. Not saying let go of all your responsibilities and neglect them, but I'm saying try to do them in a more comfortable way. Try to focus while doing your tasks in a way to make them more enjoyable to you. Try taking your time doing them, because since the new moon is not seeing Saturn or Mars, you might be overtaken by being too ambitious, by being too driven, and stumbling upon some barriers that you didn't consider before you started moving. So right now, because this new moon only sees Jupiter, so it's very hopeful, it's very It's trying to be optimistic, and it's trying to carry on plans for the future, and plans and good feelings for your body right now, so you can, keep doing whatever you want to do in the future. Even though it's doing that, you have to consciously apply some effort to look at Saturn, to look at Mars, which means consider what you're doing at the time that you're doing it, whenever you feel some intense emotion. So you don't fall into the traps that Mars and Saturn might offer to this otherwise unaware moon, to this otherwise, how do you say it? Yeah, unaware.
Yeah, unaware will do.
So,
okay. So it'd be a bit harsh to call the moon ignorant. So I think unaware would be suitable.
Yeah. Innocent. I could say innocent as well. Yeah. This otherwise innocent moon. You could. So there is a willingness here to lose your innocence in a way. And not because you're trying to spoil everything that you've created so far by making it not fun. You're not trying to make everything saturnine here. You're not trying to get stuck in what's bad. But you want to apply some conscious effort to mind these boundaries that are around you and try to work with time. Try to give it more time than you're giving it right now, because people are certainly trying to rush through their plans. There are some things that you need to rush through because the window is closing and you're not going to have any more opportunities. But even those things, you have to do one thing at a time. Don't try to run over your schedule just because you feel like you're not going to make the deadline, because that's going to make it worse.
So with that deadline, I assume you're talking about Jupiter heading out of Pisces and back into Aquarius.
Well, yes, because in the long term, that's a good point. That's also a good point to observe, because Jupiter right now is retrograde, and it's going to back up into Aquarius, as Dee was mentioning, and that's going to make it more focused in Saturnian matters, which means whatever Saturn's trying to signify right now, whatever Saturn's trying to signify right now is going to dictate the orders for Jupiter, which means that whatever's making you hopeful right now, which is Jupiter in Pisces, is going to have to answer later to the Saturnian themes that were not quite done yet, and that had to be revised by some new circumstances now that Jupiter is back into Aquarius. That's going to happen by the end of July. So we have to mind right now, even though we want to push through, even though we think if we just will it enough, we might get there. And even though you might be telling yourselves, come on, this is not self-sabotage. You're just trying to act now because you've been holding yourself up for too long, and now you have to act on your own volition, otherwise you're not going to reach it. That kind of thinking is not going to help you fully right now. That part of it is that motivation that you have to use to get there. But another part of it is just the fear of this opposition that we are seeing with Mars, Venus, and Saturn here. That's making Mars trying to pull everyone with it, trying to, push things to happen faster than they should, because Mars is entering to the Sun in Cancer. And Mars wants things to be done now. Mars wants things to be as the Sun wishes. And the Sun cannot be bothered. The Sun is in the Moon sign. So if the Sun feels, in other words, if your ego is attacked, if you feel like your morals are not being comprehended, if you feel like people are invalidating your own idea of reality, invalidating your narrative, invalidating your plans, invalidating your wishes, not considering you, basically, if you are seeing that your entitlement to things that people are generally entitled of, things that you have a right to, are being threatened, you have the tendency then here to try to push through these barriers more forcefully than you actually can right now, because they are going to subdue you.
There's a flavor there where that is quite likely to have been brought up, because you said I'd mentioned Chiron. Let's jump into Chiron already. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So the moon has just come off of a square with Chiron. So that idea of the wound and the feelings having hit one another, and then the moon's now in this, oh, I'm with the sun, I'm in my home, I'm this, that, and the other. But home with that square to Chiron hasn't necessarily felt as nice and warm and lovely as it could have done.
Yeah, we are talking about both of the lines. So you're talking about having more awareness about the things that pertain to cancer. What we're trying to do is get these feelings that we have in our body and try to translate them into intelligible language so we can communicate them to the people around them and get our needs met. And what you're saying about the moon separating from Chiron and translating the line, which is a concept in horary astrology, and translating the line into the sun, you're bringing basically a message that the moon got from Chiron, which is the moon. Chiron in Aries is basically also exalting the sun and saying, hang on a minute, I have been feeling things and these things are valid. These things come from a place of truth inside of me, and I need to look at what's truly bothering me so I can solve these things, because trying to go against them directly hasn't worked. And that's the Chiron wound there. It's a wound that doesn't seem to want to heal in a proper way. So you kind of have to redirect your attention to something else so you can try to heal it somewhere else in a way. So it's this wounded ego that is trying to trying to say to the body, okay, so the way we have been communicating our needs to this point hasn't been as effective as we would like. We need to redo, we need to replan, we need to assert our egos in a different way that's not going to hurt us anymore or the people around us. And we also become more acquainted with our own limitations in the sense of what our bodies are capable of reaching. Or if you're only as tall as the middle shelf, you need someone else. You need to call for help to reach the top shelf. But what if you're always trying to reach the top shelf, and every time you ask for help, someone topples you to the ground again, and you have to start from the bottom again, and it's more difficult for you to climb every time someone topples you, and then it becomes more and more difficult. You just don't want to ask for help again. But then there comes someone that can actually help, and you don't want to ask for help again, even though they can help you because you are traumatized. This is the wound. This is the kind of wound that Chiron's trying to resolve. Now you would have to overcome the fear of asking for help and ask that tall person to reach the top shelf for you, because now they will, in other words.
That just led to something I was thinking about there, looking at where Chiron is in relation to the nodes. I was going to bring up the south node later, but it's trine the south node. There's an element of we deal with this or stuff it, with that relationship to the south node.
Yeah, it's going to be really tempting to give up right now. It's going to be really tempting with this trine from Chiron to the south node to validate your own wounds in a way that only isolates you further, or in a way that only destroys more of what you feel is wounding you. But you don't necessarily have to destroy everything. There are things in your life right now that should change, but you cannot change everything at once. And right now, the pressure to change everything at once, because you were made aware very abruptly of everything that would be going wrong since that Capricorn full moon that we had last, you've been made aware in a very rude manner, perhaps, of the things that were impeding you from reaching your goals. And now that you see that, you want to forcefully change everything at once, but you can't really. And that frustration of not being able to change everything at once, which ties back to the factor of having to work with time and not trying to push things faster than they should go. If you try to push things faster than they should go, you're only going to frustrate yourself further, deepen the Chiron wound, and that trine to the south node is going to become, instead of a steady cleaning of the wound is going to become a rapid putrefaction of that wound, and a further isolate the individual, further isolate you from your goals, from whatever you are trying to reach. It's only going to keep you stuck in patterns of reaction, patterns of behavior that you don't want to be stuck in anymore.
Funny you should mention that about the putrefaction of the moon, because
The
wound, yes. Looking at not the moon. Looking at
someone cursed the moon and now it's putrefacting. It's rotting.
One of the goetic spirits, this is on Mars, one of the gifts of the Larage, who is ruling Mars by day at this degree. Larage causes contests and battles and can cause wounds to become infected physically and emotionally and prevent them from healing. So Mars, now I have suspicions about Mars here, because Mars is still, 3.5 degrees out of the precise square in it with Uranus. So that's still going on. It's also parallel to Uranus. So we've got that whole Mars conjunct Uranus energy as an undertone as well. That's what the whole January the 6th undertone, wasn't it? That was Mars conjunct Uranus. Okay. Venus is going to try and catch up and hopefully soften things, but they're both opposing Saturn anyway. Loosely by this point, but that effect is still there. It's actually, the more I look at this chart, the more I think that it's time to stay home, send nice greeting cards and emojis to people, but maybe not too much actual interaction, because all the sensitive topics are going to come up with that Mars-Uranus energy. You can try and control the circumstance as much as you want, but if Chiron's pushing you like that, you're just going to be, it's okay, no, it's fine, have a cup of tea, have a biscuit, that's it, I want you out.
Yeah, that's what's in danger of happening, actually. So you should really keep yourself to your focuses. So whatever whatever your goals are right now, try to focus on that and try to have fun with whatever is in your immediate surroundings. Don't try to start anything new. Don't try to make any big arrangements right now that would diverge you from your day-to-day life. Just try to enjoy yourself in your routine and try to take your time doing so, because the sky is very contentious right now, with that fixed sign energy being so tense, with Uranus, Mars, and Saturn all squaring and opposing each other, and with Venus as well. That's a very volatile aspect. Even though it's happening in fixed signs, it just means that right now, any structures that are threatened, any structures that might have a little bit more pressure put upon them, can collapse. So you don't want to put too much pressure or too much attention in things that you don't want to have that particular focus right now. Otherwise, you might just lose it, and you might just go all Mars on it and destroy everything, because things are requiring more attention, things are requiring more time and more energy and patience. So yeah, I wouldn't advise everyone to try and do too much with these aspects, even though it's a very prolific full new moon to have, because it is going to give us the necessary impetus to, cool our heads in a way, try to be more in our bodies and try to be more in the routines as they are right now. But if you can also get lost in, I forgot what I was going to say. I lost it. I'm sorry.
Well, when you said about don't try to do too much with these aspects right now. Now, if you want to end a relationship, This seems
Do it. Fucking do it.
Yes, this seems to be the perfect time. Now, on the Astrology Hub podcast, which is why we have Juno on the chart, Anne Ortley, because I want to say where I got it from, Anne Ortley mentioned that Juno is conjunct the South Node, which indicates that a lot of partnerships can be breaking up. Now, I had a look into, I've been having a lot of fun with looking at the asteroids and the declination degrees and what have you. It's not just Juno on the South Node. Juno is retrograde at the moment. So Jupiter has turned retrograde it's almost as if he's following Juno and Juno's having nothing to do with it, which is the sort of tone of the conversation that we've been having regarding the Chiron feelings. However, Juno has another name. In ancient Greek, she was the goddess Hera. Hera, the asteroid Hera, is directly opposite Saturn. So Hera is, I mean directly, like within 1 degree, I think. And so Hera's like wedding vows, loyalty, promises, and Saturn's nah, not anymore. Then we have Hygeia and what is it? Amor. Hygeia is parallel the asteroid Amor, where you'll see some of the modern astrologers saying Amor is a love. I mean, it's called Amor. Of course, it's a love asteroid. But Hygeia is working with Amor to say, yes, let's clean this up. So in order for something to be cleaned, you have to see the dirt. There was another one as well. Chiron is parallel to Orpheus, which if anyone watches my channel regularly, they'll know I love Orpheus, and Vesta. Now, Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer, did a great video about Vesta recently, last few days. And so the wound is being highlighted around unrequited love, because that's why Orpheus went into the underworld, pursuing Eurydice, who is also the Eurydice, or Eurydice is also opposing Saturn. So Saturn's there going, wedding vows, Hera, unrequited love, Eurydice, nah. And it's Chiron is also parallel with Vesta. So there's this attention to sexual independence, sexual liberation, and matters of the home and hearth.
Yeah, I want to also mention with all that you said, because it ties back to the fact that Venus is enclosed by the malefics as well. You see there's an opposition by Saturn there to 11 degrees of Leo, and Venus is separating from that degree up to an encounter with Mars that's going to happen around 19 degrees. And there are no interventions. Oh my God, that's a difficult word to say, apparently. There aren't any interventions by any other planets in this aspect. So Venus is in a condition that signifies that anything that has a Venusian character, all those things that Darren was mentioning, the Hera opposition to Saturn, the Eurydice opposition to Saturn as well, with the wedding vows, with the unrequired love bit, that's Venus. Venus is trying to make the desires, love happen, and Saturn is saying no. Mars is saying no. They're saying the environment right now, things around you right now are too hostile for you to want to manifest that kind of energy that assertively. It's not that there isn't any space for cordiality. It's not that there isn't any space for love or for mutual understanding or consensus. It's just that you have to understand that whatever consensus arises, or whatever relationships or deals that might come up with this kind of configuration will have to be brought up very strictly in a very well set up scenario with very strong boundaries and delineations of what should happen, how will we go forward from here, because that's the feeling of the enclosement. It was called besiegement as well in medieval times. So
Okay.
yeah.
But Uranus.
Mm-hmm.
So Venus is heading into the square to Uranus, just as Mars is still there, like I said, and Mars is also parallel to Uranus, so there's that extra Martian Uranus thing going on. So we've got the trying to constructively do what we're, say what we're trying to say and change the circumstances. And then Uranus is just going to get out a big wooden spoon and stir the pot.
Sorry.
Would you say that was fair?
Hang on. Sorry about that. In a way, yeah, you're right to point out that Uranus is enmeshed in the whole dynamic, because it is. Throughout the year, the topics that Mars and Venus are triggering right now, they are with us. They have been with us since the first square between Saturn and Uranus, and that happened earlier this year. So Uranus, the Uranus dynamic, is involved in this. The will to individuate, in other words, and the pressure that the current scenario of things, the current state of things is adding onto people, is really playing a part in how, in manifesting this enclosure. You see, enclosures and besiegements, I only consider them in terms of classical planets, visible planets. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they don't make that category because they are not visible by the naked eye. So I don't consider Uranus to be intervening in that, especially because Venus is already separating from Uranus in this new moon. It's going from 14 to 15 degrees already. So it's past that square, even though it's very close. But yeah, Uranus is very effective in the whole dynamic, even though it doesn't break the besiegement. It just adds up to the factors that make Venus express itself in this manner in the sky right now. We are trying to individuate. We are trying to force our way into the future, into our future, into what we see as the best place we should be at, because we want to escape the present, which is very Saturnian, unfortunately. But that's not going to be given to us very soon. The new moon in Cancer, though, with Jupiter being the only aspect to it, is really bringing to our awareness the things that can be worked on with time, through time, so we can reach our end goal. So I would advise you all to really listen to your bodies right now, not try to rush anything. Rushing is bad. Don't try to forcefully achieve any goals, because you're not going to. You're only going to manage to entangle yourself in more shit. In other words.
Well, I have something to add, and I think that point of what you was just saying about don't try to force, or don't try to avoid getting tangled up in yet more complexity and risk destroying things in the process. Sappho, now she's not on this chart. Sappho is 4 degrees away from Jupiter in Aquarius. Sappho, the day before this new moon, stationed to turn retrograde. So she's also heading back towards Saturn. But Sappho was a poet who was a servant of Aphrodite. And Sappho is about artistic abilities. Yes, go do some art. Lock yourself in a room and go do some art. Sappho is about artistic abilities, sexual expression as well. And in Aquarius, Sappho likes to shock. And with this powder keg of what we've got with the Venus Mars coming up, with the moon being innocent of all the complications that are going on around, whereas all of your hurts have been coming up and being pointed out towards you in terms of relationships. And I want to use that with a big R and a little r, because we're not just going to talk about who your significant other is, or we're going, this can affect who, with the son being involved, the leaders. Now, the leaders could be on a political scene, it could be your employer, it could be someone loud in your social group, it could be the matriarch or patriarch of the family. And let's face it, there's going to be a family aspect, it's Cancer. But there is that temptation to, well, I'm going to do this then. And that, yeah, think about it as an artistic thing, but maybe save it for a time that's a little less volatile.
Yeah, right now, people have to remember that even though Cancer is a cardinal sign, it doesn't talk about direct action. It doesn't talk about expressiveness. It talks about it going internally. It talks about tending to the body's needs. It's cardinal because you do need to respond to it instantly, something that forces you to initiate an action. But it's receptive. It's not like Aries, for example, that's completely active and you're doing stuff. Cancer is like the action of listening to your body and trying to attract things, doing the surroundings, so the surroundings kind of attract things to you, not you trying to make things happen, you see? And that's Cancer. And that's why I'm telling you all, don't push it. And that's what Darren is also saying. Don't push it. Don't try to, you can be yourself. You can focus on the solar things that you want to focus on, whichever are the desires of your consciousness, of your heart, of your soul. But you shouldn't try and topple any huge structures or any family structures or any institutional structures right now. You shouldn't try to make people see your side through active action, through action. You should try to make people see you, not even try to make people see your side, just, do things, just act, but silently. Just try to configure your environment in a way and try to configure your routine in a way that is possibilitating you to keep going in a steady manner, and not focus your energy on that, and don't try to focus your energy on the things that you should achieve, immediately, because it's not gonna work like that.
I mean, the new moon is obviously, we've got the age-old basic of it's a great time to set intentions. And with all of these triggers that we've had, Sappho, Chiron, Uranus, all of this stuff, you're going to have some great ideas. Maybe now is not the time to dive into them, but it might be the time to sit and plan and work out how you can do it well.
Yeah.
Because we was talking before the video, weren't we, David, about Jupiter's roles in all of this, and we was talking about boundaries and expanding boundaries. Do you want to say a few words on that?
Yeah, expanding boundaries in the sense that you're going to understand that you should have better boundaries, not because you aren't having any previously, but because right now you're being requested to set a new kind of boundary that you have never been requested perhaps to set before. And that's something that you have to think about. Otherwise, you're just reacting on feeling, and you're not really planning what you want to do with that feeling. You're not really. You have to see if your boundaries set previously wasn't impeding you from reaching a certain place, or if it wasn't allowing too much in, and then reset it, because with the Capricorn full moon, all of that was just thrown out there and it was just made visible. And now with this Cancer new moon, you're learning how to actually act in a way that's more towards your best interest, in a way that's serving your body and your comfort more directly. But for that, you're going to have to analyze where you had been previously too stiff to have moved.
Yeah.
Which you have in the past couple of weeks. Now you're just trying to get used to that idea, and that can be uncomfortable. So do give it time, do give it planning, do give it patience. And this is not a new moon to go out and get them. It's just a new moon to, you know, stay in and listen to them.
Yes, because when I was joking with David before we were recording that looking at the asteroids and the parallels and the general major planets as well, there is an element of get it on or get out, but both of those demands right now could end up being a little more destructive than they need to be.
Yeah.
And
so this could be some very temperance associated moment, you know. Kind of a temperance card moment where you see the actions that you have to take, you see the goal that you have to reach, you see how you're going to get there perhaps, but you also see all the barriers and you are kind of afflicted, and then in comes temperance saying, listen, put your feet in the water, try to balance these actions out and your hubris basically, and you should be protected. You know, and you should have some form of protection as long as you observe that.
So let a little bit more in, you know, don't be totally driven by your wounds, but also don't necessarily initiate any great statements right now, because you will have the ability to plan the great statements and you will be able to do that really, really well. But maybe hold off till a little bit later. Maybe, I mean, would the Venus-Mars conjunction that's coming up be a good time for, here's my great statement that I prepared earlier?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, give us a bit of hope, because this has all sounded quite depressing.
No, for the first week of the cycle, I would suggest you to stay internalized. Just try to stay home if you can. Try to focus on the tasks that you have to do that are immediately important for you. But if you don't have to do anything too, you know, urgently right now, just leave it aside and try to unwind your spirit. Try to focus on anything else that makes you feel more comfortable, that makes you feel more in contact with who you are, not in a solar sense, but in a bodily sense. Solar sense meaning your focus, your where you want to get at. Lunar sense is more of your senses. Try to satisfy your senses so you feel relaxed, comforted, belonging. You have to focus on all of that. And the first week, I think, of this cycle up until the moon in Libra is really asking us that. And then Venus is going to change signs. Mars then a couple of weeks later is also going to change signs. We are going to start getting into more of a choleric moon phase where towards the full moon in Aquarius that we are going to have with Saturn. And so rest this first week of the cycle, because the second week of the cycle towards the full moon is probably going to be a little more active and a little bit more agitated, and you're going to see the value of having had that first week of resting, of nurturing your body, so you can pay more attention in the full moon to whatever is being revealed to you regarding those boundaries that you needed to set. You're going to see how they are going to be useful for you now.
That's right. So all this, having all your wounds poked over this last week and this new moon, the way you describe it there, it will be worth it as long as you don't react at the moment.
Yes. We had a lot of reaction already, I think, with the full moon and Mars ingressing into Leo. We had a lot of the things, showing up, and us reacting to them the way they were. And now that we have now we are integrating them and being able to see how to work with them.
I knew I was forgetting something, and that was there's inherent in this warning. The South Node right now is ruled by Jupiter. Any endings that you create will get bigger. you know, so that might be a good thing, but it might not be. So it's well worth a bit of time of consideration. Is there anything else you want to say about this? I mean, I think we've said, you know, stay locked in a room, don't talk to anybody, work on an art project and just plan, you know, but David obviously gave you the more practical advice. Is there anything else you want to say about this lunation, or do you think we've covered it?
Yeah, I think we've covered it. Mercury is going to ingress into Cancer, and that's another energy that we're going to face in the next few days. By the end of the month, by the end of July, Jupiter is going to be moving into Aquarius, but we are going to talk about that later. But with Mercury into Cancer, yeah, it's just that feeling of being internalized is going to start to be more present, and it's going to grow as the planets move into more feminine energies, such as Virgo, because we're going to have Venus and Mars moving into Virgo, even though the Sun also moves into Leo. But yeah, so more feminine energy. So we are trying to look into a more internalized world and trying to see with our more intuitive eye.
So thank you very much for all of that, and good luck out there, everybody. Now, what projects are you on at the moment, David?
Yeah, I've had a new podcast come out with a friend of mine, but that's for only for those of you who speak Portuguese. That's called Esferas de Influência. It's on YouTube, and my own website is called In the First Place Astrology. That's got English content, and my videos with Darren, as well as some other collabs with friends are there as well, if you want to check that out. So yeah.
Well, you've missed, I thought you was going to say it. You were also on a podcast, Dead Time. It's being interviewed by Catherine. I've completely forgotten her last name. Oops. But I will post the link of that podcast where David was interviewed in the description down below, with the 101 other links that I no doubt have down there. If you want to contact either of us, you can go to David's website, inthefirstplace.com.
Yeah, inthefirstplaceastrology.com.
inthefirstplaceastrology.com. You can contact both of us through the Facebook link down below as well, for the Sunchild Tarot link. And have a listen to David's appearance on Dead Time, and also in a couple of weeks it's my turn, so really looking forward to that. That's it, really is. Good luck, everybody. And just, however you're going to react to anything, have a pinch of salt first. That's fair, isn't it?
Yeah. Have a good new moon, everyone.
Yep, have a good one, and we will see you. Obviously, my new moon zodiac tarot readings will be out straight after this video is uploaded. So you haven't seen the last of me yet, and we will see you later. Cheers.